Clinicase is back with its ninth session, antenatal. So, Clinicase is a platform for medical students from all across to learn and grow our medical knowledge through interactive case discussions. I would like to welcome all of you to this session. The presenter for this session will be Meghna Chaudhary. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to our supervisor for today, Dr. A. Shalini, who is an assistant professor. Let's just get started with the session. Over to you, Meghna.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone can see my screen. So we'll begin now. Today we are presenting a case on antenatal case. So our patient is Payal Sachin Sachdev, a 23-year-old Hindu OBC female from Lal, Maharashtra, who is a homemaker by occupation and admitted to ward number 11. She was admitted on 25th of February 2020 and the date of examination of 1st of March
Meghna, your
2020.
slide is not changing.
Uh, it's the general information slide right now. Can everybody see it?
No, it's not visible. It's the first slide on the screen. Okay, yeah. You can continue.
Yeah?
Yes,
General
yes.
Yes, Dr.
Yeah.
Meghna, please continue.
Total income of the family is 10,000 per month and per capita income is 2,000 per month. According to modified BG Prasad classification, she belongs to class 2 socioeconomic. She came with the chief complaints of a history of amenorrhea since 9 months, and she came for routine examination and was diagnosed with decreased fluid. My patient was apparently all right, but when she came for routine USG examination, she was diagnosed with reduced liquor amni. For this, she was admitted to the hospital on 25th of February 2020. No history of vomiting, no history of backache, no history of headache. Ma'am, would you want to add something?
Dr. Meghna, I'm not able to see your but proceed, Dr. Meghna.
Yes, ma'am, would you want to add something to the history of present illness?
No, you proceed with it. I'll stop you in between.
Okay. History of present pregnancy. She was registered at the Anganwadi at the 5th week after confirmation of pregnancy by urine pregnancy kit at home. She had total 5 antenatal visits till now.
Meghna,
2 at
sorry,
Anganwadi
please
at 3
change
at
your slide. Meghna, please change your
uh,
slide while you're talking so that the audience could understand.
can everybody see the
Sneha, is the
slide?
slide
History of
visible?
pregnancy. Yeah, I hope so.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
The next slide?
Yeah, history of present pregnancy.
Okay. Continue, Dr. Meghna. I'm not able to see, but I'll hear it out. Please continue.
Uh, can anybody confirm if others are also not able to see? Okay.
I'll
So she
present
had
instead
total.
of you. You can say
Okay,
instead of
yeah,
presenting
no
illness,
problem.
like we can see the slide.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind if someone else presents it. I guess that'll be better.
Okay, the slide just changed. Okay. Okay, let Sneha present then.
Okay, history of present pregnancy. She had total 5 antenatal visits till now. 2 at the Anganwadi and 3 at AVBRH. Routine blood and urine investigations done in the first trimester. 3 times USG was done till now at AVBRH. History of present pregnancy. No consanguineous marriage. She has been married since the last 6 years and they have used condom as the mode of contraception. Her obstetric score is G2, P2, L1, and A0. Her LMP is 7th August 2019 and the estimated date of delivery is 11th of March 2020. Tetanus toxoid immunization was given at the 4th and 5th month at the local PHC. There is no history of trauma, no history of pervaginal bleeding, no history of leaking pervaginal, and no history of decreased fetal movements. Trimester history in first trimester. In the 5th week after missing her menses, she used the Pregasure urine pregnancy test kit. She got a positive result. Later, she visited the PHC and got it confirmed. Uh, she had the complaint of increased frequency of micturition, but no complaint of nausea, vomiting, or vertigo. Routine blood and urine tests were done and were found in normal
Okay,
range.
we'll stop with this. Meghna, you mentioned about the obstetric score, right?
Yes.
So what was the obstetric score of the patient? Sneha, please go back to the slide.
It was G2, P2, L1, A0.
So what does G means? G means?
G means gravida.
So what does that mean?
It means
Gravida means?
it means that the total number of times a woman has conceived, irrespective of the outcome of the pregnancy.
So does this gravida include the present pregnancy state or not?
Yes.
Yes. So gravida is nothing but it includes the present pregnancy state of the woman plus the past pregnancy state. And what
Yes.
does para mean?
Para means total number of times that the pregnancy has reached up to 9 months.
9 months. What is that? It's called the period of viability. Para is nothing but. So how many times it includes only the previous pregnancy, not the current pregnancy, if it has crossed the period of viability. And what is the period of viability here, Meghna?
It's 7 months.
It's 28 weeks. Yes, it's not 9 months. It is 7 months. That is 28
20.
weeks. So the period of viability, it includes only the previous pregnancy. Okay.
Okay.
So do not include the current pregnancy. Only gravida includes the past and current pregnancy. So live is nothing but how many alive children the woman has, and A is nothing but if there is any history of abortion, irrespective whether it's a threatened abortion or a medical abortion or any type of abortion, included as A. So how else will you represent this obstetric score, Dr. Meghna? Any idea? Can it be represented in any other way?
Not that I can think of. If anybody
Okay.
else can
We can.
answer the question, they can please
Yes,
put
yes.
it in the
Yeah, the
chat
audience
box.
also. Yeah, yes. Is there any other way we can express our obstetric score? All right. So we can express it as P. P means para And A, B, C, D. You can, A means term, whether the present pregnancy has completed term. And then B means number of preterms. Previously, how many preterm children the woman had delivered. And C means any history of miscarriage. Again, it is nothing but abortion. And D means number of alive children. So A, B, C, D, P, A, B, C, D. So this is one of the other representation of your obstetric score, which recently they have been asking. And there is something else again, P 3 plus 1. So 3 means, again I said P means para. It denotes the how many viable birth has happened. Plus 1 means abortion. Here, so what will be the obstetric score here? Anybody? For this case? P? P1 plus? Sneha? Or anybody else? P1 plus 0. Okay. So this is the other way to write the obstetric score. Okay, let's continue, Dr. Meghna, with the history.
Okay, so the second trimester, she was prescribed iron, folic acid, and calcium tablets but had non compliance. She experienced quickening at 16th week. Thereafter, she could appreciate fetal movements regularly. Third trimester, USG was done at 7th month. Pregnancy was uneventful. At 9th month, USG was done as routine checkup and was diagnosed with decreased liquor remnant.
Are you mentioning the current pregnancy's history, Dr. Meghna?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So you have written something called as in the third trimester, UST done at 7th month. Pregnancy was uneventful. So what does that mean?
That could, is that a mistake in writing?
No, I'm just asking you a question. Usually after the delivery only we say whether the pregnancy was eventful or uneventful. So
Right.
uneventful means everything went on smoothly. There was no complication. The child was normal birth. That maybe it could be a normal vaginal delivery or a C-section. Eventful means something bad has happened, like the child might have died or there might be maternal complication. So usually we do not mention it in the third trimester, but if you have given the format, you continue according to your teachers. Okay. Continue, please.
Menstrual history. She got her menarche.
Okay, we'll discuss something about the registration. So, what is the importance of registration here? Does every antenatal mother need to register in her local Anganwadi?
Yes, it is very important to get it registered because that way
Yes.
the PHC or the Anganwadi would be able to track her pregnancy and ensure that she is getting her antenatal visits on time, including
Yes.
the iron folic acid tablets and the tetanus toxoid immunization and routine screening for any abnormalities.
Yes. Okay. So we have a question here, Harshita. Harshita will come back to your question later. So registration is very important, and registration has to be done before 12 weeks. So why we need to register is, as Dr. Meghna said, the ANM has to know how many pregnant women are there in a community at every point, every month. So in a community, there should be 69 pregnant women at any time of the month. It might be the beginning of the month, the middle of the month, or end of the month. If this number 69 comes below, it means the pregnant women are not registering properly. So we all know in our country that some pregnant women migrate from the mother's place to their in-laws place. In that case, this registration might fall below. So this ANC registration is vital, and the ANM also has to procure iron and folic acid tablets, then again your tetanus toxoid. So she has to know how many pregnant women are registered in their Anganwadi or in their sub-center to get the iron and folic tablets, folic acid tablets, as well as the tetanus toxoid shot. So this is the importance of registration before 12 weeks. And why should she register? What are the other things? We have discussed about the folic acid. We have discussed about the numbers. Then we have discussed about the tetanus toxoid. Why else she should visit the physician or a healthcare worker? Anybody else also can answer?
Ma'am, in a country like India, we have it's known that maternal mortality rates are high, and
Yes.
the main reason is because the women don't. There are no routine investigations which are done, and which is why minimum number of ANC visits are required to ensure that the pregnancy is progressing as desired.
Yes, that is right. But why? Why she should visit a physician? She can visit even later part, right? Or a ANM.
Ma'am, so we could do screening for
Yes,
congenital
yes,
anomalies.
correct. Exactly. Not only congenital anomalies, we have to find out whether she's pregnant or not. The first thing is whether we have to find out it is a uterine pregnancy or extrauterine pregnancy. So extrauterine pregnancies like ectopic pregnancies are also common. So we have to find out where is the site of pregnancy. So only confirming if it is a uterine pregnancy, we can move accordingly. Without knowing that, we cannot move. And the next one is after.
Ma'am, your mic is muted.
Yeah, 1 second. So after confirming the pregnancy, then we have to screen for the high risk cases. So who are all the high risk cases here? So can you tell me a few high risk cases? Any of you?
Um,
Ma'am, it is
under
elderly primary, above
Yes.
35 years of age.
Elderly
Short
primary?
stature,
Yes,
above
yes,
35 years, 30 years of age.
yes,
And then
yes.
short stature primary, that is below 140 centimeters.
Good, Dr. Sneha. So first we need to screen this high risk women. So once we know the high risk women, we give extra care for these group of people. That is the importance of registering within 12 weeks. And the next is, as I said, ultrasound, the early ultrasound, whether we can the women can decide whether the pregnancy is needed or not, whether she should continue the pregnancy, or in case if she doesn't want the pregnancy, she can go for abortion. And abortion in India before 20 weeks is only legal. Above 20 weeks is not legal, it's not permitted in India. And up to only 12 weeks the physicians are doing. So beyond 12 weeks you need certain discussion with the other physicians, and you need to get approval and then go for abortion. That's why we need to take any decision before 12 weeks. That is the importance of ANC registration within 12 weeks. Yes, Dr. Meghna, we can continue.
okay, ma'am. In menstrual history, she got her menarche at the age of 14. She has a 30 days regular cycle with 5 days of menstruation. There is no associated dysmenorrhea and no history of passage of clots.
So what is the importance of asking menstrual history in any pregnant women? So we all know women get menarche at this age near 12, 13, 14, 15. And yes, we need to know the cycle. So why do we need to keep this in our mind? Anybody else can answer?
It could tell us about abnormalities like, if at all, like intermenstrual bleeding or heaviness of bleeding like dysmenorrhea.
Yes, yes. So once we come to know about the dates, we will know whether the patient is having menorrhagia. Menorrhagia is excessive bleeding. If
So now,
she has complaints of menorrhagia earlier, then she might be in the anemic stage. So regarding the pertaining to her anemic status, she will be prescribed tablet. So we all know that prescribing iron and folic acid tablets is mandatory for everybody. So can you tell me how much of tablets is prescribed? What is the dosage of tablets? Meghna or anybody else also
if
can say.
anybody knows, they can put it in the chat box.
Yes, if somebody can answer, please do put it in the chat box. How much of iron and folic acid is prescribed in your pregnancy period? So iron is given to combat anemia and folic acid is given to tackle the neural tube defects. Ideally, we should give folic acid pre-conception, that is before conception. The mother has to take folic acid tablets 3 months, 12 weeks regularly she has to take.
Okay.
500 microgram of folic acid. What about iron, Dr. Sneha? Previously, it was 100 milligram of iron, but now elemental iron. Now we have reduced it into 60 milligram of elemental iron according to the Anemia Mukt Bharat scheme. So from 100, we have come down to 60. So they have decided that 60 milligram of elemental iron is enough for any pregnant women and 500 microgram of folic acid. So this is given for 180 days starting from the second trimester. Okay. So
Yeah.
from the second trimester, iron is not given in the first trimester. So why we don't give iron in the first trimester? Anybody? Why shouldn't we give?
It can aggravate nausea.
Yes, very good. Already the patient has complaints of nausea. And iron again causes, what are the contraindications of iron? Gastritis. One of the contraindication is gastritis. So already if she has a problem and if we put something else again into it, her pregnancy outcome will be affected. That's why we started in the second trimester of the pregnancy, and she has to continue it postpartum also. Postpartum is after delivery. She has to continue for 180 days. During the pregnancy, 180 days, and after the pregnancy also 180 days. So if she has anemia, categories 2, mild, moderate, and severe. So you give her sucrose. This oral iron is not going to help these people. If she is in severe form, you will go for sucrose iron.
Okay, ma'am.
Continue, Dr. Meghna. I'm
I'm
not
not
able to
able
see
to.
the slide. Sorry.
We cannot see the screen. Whoever was sharing it.
You are not able to see Sneha's screen.
No, ma'am.
I think she is
Yeah, yeah.
presenting now.
So we are done with the menstrual history.
Sneha, can you go to the next slide, please?
Obstetric history. Her first male child is alive, healthy, and 5 years old. Antenatal period was eventful. She got TT immunization once. Institutional delivery was done at AVBRH. There was a history of episiotomy, but no blood transfusion. The baby cried immediately after birth and fed after half an hour.
Okay, have we mentioned about the LMP here anywhere previously?
LMP was mentioned as 7th August 2019.
And EDD will be
EDD was 11th of March 2020.
11th of March 2020. LMP was 2019.
Yes.
All right, okay. So, what is the formula which is used to calculate LMP to EDD?
We
Anybody
had
else?
we had 9 months plus 7 days.
Yes, that is called as, what rule is called as? We have a name for that.
Uh,
Okay, it's called Negley's formula
yes.
or Negley's rule. So we calculate it as 9 calendar months and 7 days. So there are, yes, Neha, correct, Negley's rule. So there are two formulas. One is 9 plus 7, and there's something called as backward formula, that is 3 minus 3 calendar months plus 7 days. So your examiner might ask both the questions. So 9 plus 7 minus 3 plus 7, it will give you the same. So can any one of you calculate the keeping the LMP as today 23 1 21? Please tell me the EDD, one of you. One of you use the forward formula and one of you use the backward formula. Meghna, can you do the forward one?
Yes, ma'am.
And Sneha, can you tell me the backward one? You can post it in the chat box. Okay, that's taking some time. So let's do it later. Yes, somebody got the answer.
Yeah.
Is that the right one? Meghna, you got the same one? Forward,
Yes, ma'am.
backward, Sneha? Sneha is busy presenting. So both the answers will be the same. You can use one of them. Okay, and continue, please continue. Sneha is getting a different answer. Meghna, please continue.
Can we get to the next slide? No prelactal feeds were given. Breastfed continuously, exclusively for 6 months. Continued breastfeeding for 1 year and 2 months. No history of IUCD insertion. She was advised to use barrier methods. Period established after 1 year and 5 months of pregnancy. No postpartum complications. Child is fully immunized to the age.
Okay, so so till how many, up to how many months do we give breastfeeding? Exclusive breastfeeding is up to
6 months.
6 months. That's right. And she has continued breastfeeding 1 year and 2 months. That's a good thing. So the WHO recommends up to 18 months. That is 1.5 years.
Yes.
It's good. And you have mentioned something. The doctors, she was advised to use barrier method. Do you think it is right, Meghna, or anybody else?
Yes, because
Barrier
it would
method in
prevent
a
against
primary
pregnancy.
to prevent against.
A pregnancy because lactational amenorrhea is not always guaranteed postpartum.
So, do you think any other methods can be used? What is the safest and easiest method? There's one drawback of using this barrier method, right? So, usually we put copper T to these women. We don't recommend condoms, barrier methods, because we know what are the disadvantage. The men has to be motivational using the barrier methods. So, we advise them to put copper T. And copper T is a what kind of
It is a chemical IUCD.
contraception? It's a second generation IUCD. Yes, good. Okay. Continue with the slide, please.
Past history, no history of any chronic illnesses like diabetes, hypertension, or asthma. No history of tuberculosis, STD, or respiratory tract infections. No history of hospitalization, blood transfusion, etc. No history of any surgical intervention.
Reproductive tract infections or respiratory tract infections?
Uh,
RTI.
Reproductive tract infections.
Don't get confused, huh? Okay. Dr. Meghna, continue, please.
Yes, family history. Family consists of 5 members, joint type family. Head of the family is Manoj Srivastav, the father-in-law of the patient. Age 52 years, education 5th class, and occupation farmer. No significant family history, no history of any chronic illness. There are 5 members in the family: the patient, her husband, her father-in-law, mother-in-law, and a 5-year-old son. Dietary history: her total calorie intake was 1950 kilocalorie. Oh, sorry, 1945 kilocalorie.
And the protein was 67. I think you have mentioned it as 6.7.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, 67 grams per day. Dietary history: the energy requirement of a sedentary female in antenatal period is 2,250 kilocalories. Hence, the woman has a deficit of 305 kilocalories. Protein requirement for this would be 71 grams, but there is a protein deficit of 14.3 grams. Food fats not present. Personal history. She has a mixed diet. Bladder and bowel habits are normal and regular. No history of exposure to STDs and no history of any drug allergy.
Okay. So you have mentioned as bowel habits are normal and regular. Can you elaborate on that? Anybody else? Meghna or yeah, Meghna and friends? Anybody?
Bowel habits are usually altered during pregnancy. There is increased frequency of micturition, and even the bowel habits increase because of pressure on the bladder and the intestines because of the growing fetus.
Yes, so I couldn't hear Meghna properly. I think she said the right answer. There's going to be frequent micturition because the uterus is compressing the head of the urinary bladder in the first trimester as well as at the last trimester, coming to the end of the term. And the bowel habits, mostly the women might be having complaints of constipation. So constipation is a common complaint in any antenatal women. So to tackle this or to combat this, already we are putting iron into them. So increased food intake of fiber, fibrous food. So give them lots of greens and green leafy vegetables with fruits. Continue, Dr. Meghna.
Environmental history. She stays in Pakka house with cemented floor, single living room of 12 into 5 square feet size and a veranda of 12 into 5 square feet size used as a kitchen. Room have 2 windows and 2 doors, separate bathroom outside, no separate latrine, no separate kitchen. LPG is used for cooking and presence of mosquito breeding sites due to water stagnation. Next slide, please. Water supply from nearby well, storage of water in earthen pot covered by a lid, drinking water from a municipal tap inside the house, no boiling of water for drinking purposes, sullage disposal in open drain and waste disposal at a distant place. Treatment history, injection dexamethasone 2 ml was given intramuscular, tablet multivitamins, tablet folic acid and tablet iron.
So the probable
General
diagnosis. Okay, yeah.
General examination, the patient is conscious, cooperative and well oriented to time, place and person. Her height is 146 centimeter, weighing 53 kgs, moderate build. Nourishment is moderately nourished. Pallor is present, clubbing icterus are absent.
So what was her previous weight before pregnancy or when she started pregnancy? Any idea? Has she had adequate amount of weight gain?
Her
Doc-
her
yes,
weight
Dr.
wasn't
Meghna.
recorded.
It wasn't recorded. Okay. Usually, what is the amount of weight gain expected in a normal singleton pregnancy? She's having a singleton pregnancy, right?
Yes.
Yes. So, what is the average weight gain in an Indian woman expected?
8 to 10 kilos.
Okay, it can be anywhere between 6.5 to 11 kilograms. Okay, in a singleton pregnancy, we expect 11 kilograms and it will be split into 3 trimesters. So, in the first trimester, we expect only 1 kilogram weight gain. In the second trimester, we expect 5 kilogram weight gain, and in the third trimester, also same 5 kilogram. Only in the first trimester, it is 1 kilogram because most of the women experience morning sickness.
Yes.
So, in case if there is rapid weight gain, what does that mean?
It could mean multiple pregnancy.
Multiple pregnancy is one. Good. Okay. Then anything else? So, rapid pregnancy again, it means 0.5 kg in 1 week and 2 kilograms in a month. This only means rapid pregnancy. Anything else? Any other
It
systemic
could mean
disease which comes into
hypertensive disorder like
Yes. Yes,
preeclampsia.
she can be early manifestations of preeclampsia, or she can be even a diabetic patient. She can have
Yes.
experiences of GDM. So these two things you have to rule out if the weight gain is more. One is it can be multiple pregnancy. The next is early manifestation of preeclampsia, and the next she can be a patient of
Gestational.
gestational diabetes. And we all know that big baby is one of the complication of gestational diabetes. So the
Yes.
fetus weight does not only mean it is the fetal weight, it is the weight of the mother, the placenta, as well as the fetus. It is a combination of three things. We can proceed to the next one, Dr. Meghna.
Ma'am, does polyhydramnios also lead to significant weight gain?
Not much, because the amniotic fluid is somewhere around 1 liter in the end term of pregnancy. Polyhydramnios will not give much of weight gain,
Okay,
not too
ma'am.
much.
Okay. Icterus, pedal lymphadenopathy are absent. Breast appear normal. Spine appears normal. Her vital signs: BP is 128 by 86 millimeter of mercury. Pulse rate is 86 per minute. Temperature afebrile and respiratory rate is 20 per minute. Systemic examination. Abdominal examination on inspection. We find that the abdomen is distended. The umbilicus is stretched and centrally placed. Linea nigra is present. Stria gravidarum are present and no scar marks seen.
Scar marks in the sense, what do you mean?
It could be a scar of previous C-section.
Previous section. But she had a normal delivery, right? Normal
Yes,
vaginal birth.
yes.
Okay, because somewhere they mentioned this tria and linea as also scar marks. So you can clearly mention as no history of previous C-section or
C-section.
something like that. When you mention
Okay,
that, please do mention. Some examiners expect that kind. Continue, please.
okay, ma'am. Palpation. Fundal grip is below the sternum. Irregular parts palpable. Right, left lateral grips are back and fetal parts palpable. Podalic grip is head floating. Fetal movements are felt. Auscultation, normal bowel sounds are heard. Fetal heart sound is 140 per minute and it's heard. Fetal heart sounds are heard at the right lower quadrant as 140 beats per minute.
So the range of fetal heartbeat will be somewhere from 110 to 160. You can measure it with a plain stethoscope, and the auscultation, you can begin the auscultation. You will be able to feel the auscultation somewhere between 18 to 20 weeks itself. And somebody, I think Dr. Hashita, she asked, what does quickening mean? Quickening means nothing but the patient is able to, first time she is able to feel that the fetus is moving or not. That is quickening. So quickening is much earlier in multigravida, and it is later in primigravida. Usually it is, you can feel between 16 to 20 weeks. In multigravida, she'll be feeling it much earlier. In primigravida, she'll be able to feel at a later stage. But before 20 weeks, you should be able to feel the quickening movement. And how to count the quickening movement, the doctor will teach you that you have to count how many times your child is moving in a minute or in an hour. They will give you a thread and they'll ask you to knot. So that's the way to find out quickening. Continue, Dr. Meghna.
Okay. Ma'am, in palpation, it is expected out of us that we know the fundal grips, right?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. What is was it?
In palpation, it is expected out of us that we demonstrate the fundal grip uh, and
In
also in
palpation,
auscultation. Yes,
we I couldn't hear you, Dr. Meghna. Yeah, are you asking whether we should demonstrate the fundal grip?
yes, yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes. You have mentioned it below sternum, right?
yes.
And what about the symphysis funnel height?
That would correspond full term.
No, have you mentioned that in
No.
We usually we do it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Next slide, please.
Per vaginal examination, no discharge, and the os is closed as per records. Respiratory system, normal breath sounds heard all over the lung field. Cardiovascular system, S1, S2 heard, no murmurs. Central nervous system, no focal or neurological deficits.
And respiratory system, you have to add the word no other added sounds.
Okay.
In an antenatal case, mostly they will be seeing your abdominal examination. They'll not be bothered about the systemic examination. Next one. Next slide.
Okay. Ma'am, what could be the abnormal PV discharges in case of an ANC patient?
Meghna, can you repeat?
Ma'am, in case of an ANC patient, what abnormal per vaginal discharge could we expect?
You can see the infections during antenatal period. One of the infection is candidiasis. Okay, vaginal candidiasis is a common infection, but it might give or it might not give white discharge during pregnancy. And there's something called as meconium stained liquor. So if the liquor is,
Yes.
if the amniotic fluid is greenish in color, it means the
There is leakage of meconium or liquor amnion.
am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
So meconium stain liquor and blood liquor, yellow liquor. So all these are your vaginal discharge. Usually, the liquor will be pale straw in color. This is the color of the liquor. Have you ever done a PV examination?
No, we
No.
were never allowed to
Have you
do that.
seen the color of the
You
amniotic
can tell,
fluid?
no. Yes.
Yes, it will be plain like a water straw
Yes.
colored
Same, yeah.
liquor. Continue,
Systemic
Dr. Meghna.
examination, breast examination. No tenderness, breasts are not engorged, no distended veins visible, the areola is pigmented, the nipples are enlarged, erectile and pigmented, secretions are absent, no inverted or cracked nipples.
Can you go back to the
So my
previous slide?
patient such
Okay, okay. Next slide, next slide. You can continue.
So summarizing, my patient Payal Sachin Srivastava, 23-year-old female living in Pakka House in Latur, educated up to 10th class, complains presently of reduced liquor amni with an obstetric score of G2, P2, L1 and A0. Twenty-three-year-old Payal Sachin Srivastava is 38 weeks gravid multipara with G2, P1, L1, A0, presenting with IUGR. Okay, so there's a change in the obstetric score. Payal Sachin Srivastava, a 23-year-old female, came for an antenatal checkup in her 38th week of gestation, having a 305 kilocalorie deficit in her diet, overcrowding, presence of mosquito breeding sites in her house. This is the clinico-social diagnosis.
Okay, Meghna, we have not spoken about the lab investigations during antenatal period. Can anybody say what are the minimum lab investigation we need to do in antenatal mother? So the first will be your hemoglobin estimation, including your hematocrit, ABO, RH typing, and then your blood glucose, including your VDRL, HIV, and HPS-AG. So these are the minimum blood investigations, and urine you will check for sugar albumin, and pus cells. So these are the minimum investigations you will be doing in an antenatal mother. Okay, irrespective of her gestational period or irrespective of her pregnancy status. And the next thing we have forgot to discuss about is tetanus toxoid. So how much of tetanus toxoid is given and when is it given, Dr. Meghna?
2 shots are given,
How many?
ideally in two
How?
shots.
Two. Yes, 2 doses. You're right.
Yes, yes, and they are given at an interval of 4 to 6 weeks apart.
Good. Yes.
The in the second trimester.
Okay. So we all know that tetanus is given to prevent neonatal tetanus in the child and maternal tetanus in the mother. So when we need to give this tetanus toxoidus, 2 doses should be given. So first, as early as you see the mother. So whenever she comes to your OPD, the first visit itself, you give her the TT, and the second visit before pregnancy, before delivery. Sorry, not before pregnancy, before delivery. If she doesn't come for follow up, if she doesn't show up anywhere in the any time for her subsequent visits, just before the delivery, you can give her even 2 minutes or 3 minutes before the delivery, you can give her a tetanus toxoid. And we have to discuss something about the minimal antenatal visits. So, how many minimal antenatal visits are needed for any women?
4.
Meghna or anybody? 4, yes. So, the first will be 12 weeks, and the next will last will be before the term, and the second and third will be somewhere between 14 to 26 weeks. Third will be 28 to 34 weeks. So these are the
34
minimal
weeks.
visits. There's something called as ideal visits. Ideal visits are 13. So it's not possible to attend 13 visits. That's why the government has mentioned 4. At least in this 4, they will be able to find out the high risk factors, about the fetal status, about the ultrasound, and the any other problem if the mother is able to needed to tackle. So these are the antenatal visits we have mentioned that. So what else? So oligohydramnios, coming to oligohydramnios. So oligohydramnios means nothing but decrease in the amniotic fluid. So what are the complications of oligohydramnios, Meghna?
It could lead to intrauterine growth restriction.
IUGR, yes, good. So the child might go for IUGR. Then fetal distress is also another complication. So how can we tackle this oligohydramnios? Any idea?
Uh, IV hydration is given.
Yes, actually, the mother has to be hydrated well. So we don't know the exact mechanism of action of oligohydramnios, but it involves the fetus and the mother. So the fetus will be drinking the amniotic fluid, but again there will be output. The urine output of the fetus will also be there. So this is like a vicious cycle. So if there is oligohydramnios, the mother has to be needed to hydrated well. So increase intake of water and increase intake of fluids, mineral and vitamin rich fluids, plus then they go for IV fluids. So this is how we tackle oligohydramnios. As I told you, amniotic fluid, the amount of amniotic fluid is not very much more. At the term, it will be somewhere around 1 liter. And in the beginning of pregnancy, it will be 50 ml. I think a patient is nearing term. So somewhere she will be having 600 to 800. So less about 36 weeks, her amniotic fluid will be decreasing. That might also be one of the reason. Have we mentioned to discuss anything else? Others can post a question in the chat box. Dr. Meghna, if you have any doubts.
If anyone has any,
I have one. Yeah. Yes, Dr. Meghna.
no. I think if anyone else has any doubts, could either unmute themselves and speak
I
or put it in the chat.
I'm not able to hear you. Please post your question in the chat box. Sneha, am I audible? Okay, and I forgot to discuss about
Proposed management.
one more thing. What are the causes of edema in pregnancy? We haven't mentioned about whether the person has edema or not, pedal edema or total edema. So, can you tell me what are the causes of edema in pregnant women? Anybody else other than Meghna? Meghna has answered too many questions today. Shivani is there.
Guys, anybody can
Yeah, you can
answer if
post
you
in the
could
chat box.
unmute yourself and answer.
Okay, first thing, edema in pregnancy is physiological. We all need to know that it is normal in pregnancy to be edematous and to have pedal edema. And the other causes are preeclampsia. Same thing like excessive weight gain. If there is excessive edema, remember preeclampsia. Then anemia with hyponatremia. Then cardiac failure and nephrotic syndrome. So these are the causes of edema in pregnancy. So when you're discussing about oligohydramnios, you need to read about preeclampsia also.
Yes.
So any other questions?
These are some
Yes.
recommendations which are. These are the general recommendations for any ANC visit, which is to consume iron and folic acid tablets regularly, uh, and consume nutritional food in adequate quantity, take adequate rest. And we could add another point that even the woman should stay hydrated. It could lead to oligohydramnios, as in this case. Uh, the family should keep the surrounding area of the house clean, consume enough amount of nutritious food at home, prevent stagnation of water and mosquito breeding, support the woman to do the part of RMNCH and other things.
So how much amount of money is given under this JSY scheme?
Oh, anybody who's in third year, they will be able to answer the question better. Does you want to answer?
In Maharashtra, do they give 20,000 rupees? Sneha? I think in different states, there's different amount. Previously, it was 18,000 rupees in the state of Tamil Nadu. Maharashtra, I don't know. Maybe they're giving 20,000. Good. Okay. Any other questions?
Guys, if anybody has any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask. I guess that's about it from our end. Thank you so much for taking our time from your busy schedule and helping us
I am
learn
not
how to
able to
prepare the cake.
hear you, Meghna.
Uh,
Can I?
am I audible? Can you confirm?
Any other questions?
Ma'am, so Parth Shahani asks in the chat box, ma'am, we do not know the grips and all yet. So is it necessary to learn it right now?
Yes, you need to know about the fundal grip, first pelvic grip, second pelvic grip. Actually, if you want, we can have a small session later on. I can show the video and or you can even see it online. But you need to know about the fundal grip, first pelvic grip, and second pelvic grip. You better need to learn it online. You can see some videos, and you always need to measure the symphysiofundal height. So this is a must. Okay, irrespective of the period of amenorrhea, you need to measure the symphysiofundal height. Any other questions? Any other questions?
Ma'am, so now we have a question that is open to the audience.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, now we have a question that is open to the audience, and the first three members to answer this would be featured on our Instagram page. So, the question is, what is the recommended dose of folic acid given during pregnancy? If anybody knows the answer, I'll post the question in the chat box. So, please, somebody answer.
I think Parth has posted already.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, that's right. 60 milligram of elemental iron and 500 microgram of folic acid for 180 days in your antenatal period, starting from the fourth trimester, and continue it in the postpartum period, 180 days. Correct, Parth. Next question, Sneha.
Yes, ma'am, that's it. Ma'am, can we conclude our session now?
Sneha, you're not audible.
Am I audible now, ma'am?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, so with this, we would like to conclude our session here. So thank you so much for joining us, ma'am, taking out time from your busy schedule.
Pleasure
I know
was mine. I'm sorry for that many questions, Meghna. I asked you many questions.
No, thanks a lot. It was really a preparation for your.
ma'am, yes, ma'am.
I
So with
couldn't hear
this,
Sneha. Yes.
thank you so much for all of your time, ma'am. It was, we know you had a very busy schedule and still you've taken out time for this. So really, thank you so much. And
I hope my
we've learned
session
a lot.
was useful. If you want, we can have another case discussion also in before your exam anytime. But please let me know little prior. If you want to learn the examinations, we'll work on the examination part. How to do a
Yeah.
antenatal examination, clinical examination alone. We can have a small session if you want later on, because I haven't touched on that, and I think many of you want to know that.
Yes, ma'am, we'll surely schedule a session on the examination part because I think it's really needed and it's really important. So, and today we couldn't cover, but we covered a lot of basics and it was a very good session, very informative. And I loved all your questions, like, they were on point and amazing. Thank you so much. We would love to schedule another session with you in future. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you,
And
Shivani.
Meghna,
Thank you, Meghna.
yes,
Thank you,
good
Sneha.
job,
Thanks,
Meghna. You were
everyone.
amazing. So I think so we can conclude the session now.
Yes.
Thank you guys for
Okay then.
joining. Bye. Good
Okay.
night.
Thank you so much.
Can I leave the meeting, guys, or you want me to stay?
Yes, ma'am. You
Okay.
can
Okay.
end
Thank
the
you,
call.
everyone. Bye then. Good
Yes.
night.
Good night.